All right. We're going to just get started. Okay. Well, thank you. And then we'll just go from here. Okay. All right. Well, we're getting a little bit better. We were 9 minutes late yesterday. Now we're 8 minutes late.
That is
So,
good.
oh man, it one of these days when we get a budget, we'll be able to hire a permanent person to who knows how to just set it up, and because every time it's like it's always a different person. Well, I noticed yesterday I was listening to the replay, and I did say good morning. So now
Oh,
I'm
you
saying
did.
good
I thought
evening.
you had. Well,
Yeah,
good evening.
it's like wow. I don't know. Sometimes the days, even though I'm doing something different every day, it's pretty interesting. We're applying for these government grants, and they're pretty intense. Well, once you did the first one, then you have to just keep the template for the rest of them. But it's pretty intense. Oh man. So how's your day been, Mr. Allen?
Well,
Clinton?
it hasn't been very bad at all. It's been fairly productive and things like that. Learned a lot more about the law than I ever thought that I would ever want to learn about the law. Learned a lot about electoral things and duels and all kinds of weird stuff we can't talk about too much on YouTube anymore, but learned a lot about stuff.
Well, as long as this is America, I mean, it's like okay, they can do whatever they want to do. The main thing is it's like they only take notice if what you say go viral, then they pay attention to you. So
Yeah,
far, nothing we have said has gone viral. So
we just little fishes.
yeah, so until we start going viral, then I don't think they're going to pay too much attention to what we're saying. I'd like to welcome you guys to Innervision FM. If you're watching this on YouTube, Periscope, please share those and let your friend know. And we have different topics from time to time. And as we go into the Christmas season, speaking of something to buy during Christmas season, I have a book out there called Six Shades of Blindness. You'll see it in the description there on how you can get it on Amazon. And do give us a review and copy that. We have a 24 hour, 7 days a week radio station as well, Innervision FM. And we aired these shows on Denver Comcast 56, which they're gonna have open house. Virtual open house on the 16th, which I'm gonna go to that at 2 o'clock p.m. And I'm thinking since it's an open house, it's open to everyone. So it's Denver Media. I think it's Denver Media here in Denver, which might be searchable. And
Is it
come
Denver
join us.
Media Access or is it just Denver Media?
It's probably just Denver Media. Denver Media.
Okay.
And no cookies, no juice unless you bring it yourself.
Well,
And
it being virtual, it would be. Well, they do have plenty of cookies on the internet, so I guess that.
you could have Amazon bring it straight to your door.
There you go.
Oh man. So I was just thinking about these poor politicians. I feel sorry for them. And I'm getting I really didn't get involved with this. I mean, I just went, did my civics duty and just voted, and didn't really think about it for many years. And I heard the term career politicians, and I guess it's almost like a game. They have it lined up who they want to be in, and the game they want to play, and then making money globally, and we the people who send in our taxes, we really have little, if anything, to do with the day-to-day running of the government as it is now. It's gotten bigger, bigger, and bigger, and So they have their little game that they play, and sometimes you'll get a person like a Trump, and he'll disrupt it, and then they say, okay, we had 4 years of that disruption. Now let's go back to what we have done. And what Trump has taught me, and I've heard this over again. I don't know if you've heard this before. Okay, if you want to make it, you just have to work harder than that other guy over there. And Trump has lived this life like, if I want to do something positive, I just have to work harder than the other guy. And he was running this way and that way, doing all these things and working hard. And the politicians' rule is, well, we'll cheat. It doesn't matter. We'll cheat, and it doesn't matter how hard you work. If we decide that you're our guy, we'll cheat, and we'll get you into place because we have an agenda. And so, for the people out there who see all this stuff going on with the Smartmatic machines and all that, and how those machines help to cheat and steal votes and change votes, don't give up on hard work, because it does pay off. I've seen it pay off. We have a president that shows you how it pays off. He didn't become a billionaire because he was just lounging around and just relaxing. He learned his craft, and he worked harder than the other guy. Learned how to smooth and make in the art of the deal. And then you have politicians who will still cheat, lie, to maintain this image of power. And then you have a media that's compliant. And it's just, I'm beginning to think, Alan, that this is all just a game, and nobody pays for. Well, it's a simulation of people pay, but then the president or whoever can just pardon that person and then get them out of jail or whatever, and then the game continues. What do you think about this just being a game they play in Washington, and as outsiders we can look at it and not understand why we'll go to jail, and there's nobody there really to pardon us unless we got a good lawyer, right? But these guys, they might go to jail, they might put up their houses or whatever, but they always have an out.
I promise that often I'll use like a big word salad to explain stuff. So often I'll take a half hour to explain that a 3-letter word cat is spelled C-A-T. So I promise I'm not going to do too much of that. Okay. But it goes back to the idea that when we had the spoken and written word, we had power. That word itself had power. And when it became transmittable via electronic means, from the telegraph to radio to television to now internet, that power gained in exponential terms. And because of that exponential gain in power of the spoken or written word, when people started to realize that they could manipulate other people via the use of the word, via the use of oratory power, via the use of storytelling and this kind of thing, that was one level. And when we hit the electronic phase, that was another level entirely. And when the media realized that one could really manipulate the way that people looked at things, we the people became just a bunch of nice sounding words. And we the people kind of stepped out and waited for the government to do their thing, to fix anything that was wrong with any part of society, whether it be what we have going on most recently with our with our things like with the elections and things we can't really touch upon here, but all the way back into history. It really stems from the power of what one demographic of society has over another one through manipulation of its information.
Hmm. Okay. You said something about you were going to talk a little bit about the electoral college because you said you've been reading stuff about that. Uh, tell are you there?
Yeah, I'm
Oh
here.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go. Talk about that electoral college.
The Electoral College is a safeguard put into place by the founding forefathers to allow rural areas a type of voice, the same type of voice that, say, a bigger city would have. And that is why the Electoral College is a important component within our constitutional republic. It's also something that has been under fire recently, and people do talk about from time to time getting rid of the system of the electoral college and making popular vote be the governing and driving force that will basically set up for the next candidate to hold whatever office we're talking about. I have to
Hmm.
really be careful with algorithms and things about the words that I choose. So anyway, yeah.
Well, yeah, what I understood is like it was a while back, that the electoral college would pick the president, but we wouldn't inaugurate the president until March, and then they moved it up to the January 20th, which is just little spots reading I'm doing, and so each state had the electoral college. Um, these people it was sort of like picked in secret kind of thing. But then there was this thing that was happening the day that they didn't let members of the electronic, maybe they have alternative sets of electoral college people picked, and they wouldn't let a certain amount in because they said they were afraid of violence, and I'm still not wrapping my head around violence. What do you mean? They have the alternative, and then they have the the main ones. They wanted to go inside and cast their votes. What kind of violence could there be other than what we saw during voting day, where they were where Democrats were blocking people from seeing and actually throwing people off the floor and putting them 6 feet apart and 20 feet apart from checking the ballots. Uh, this I've out of all the years I've voted, I've never, the closest maybe it was with Bush and Al Gore, but it wasn't even like this. And then the most craziest one, like on fighting on the floor was in 1968. Um, it just seemed like each generation, and I'm older generation now, it's getting more and more bizarre as far as like us following our constitution. What do you think about that? Us following our constitution is just we're getting further, we're getting into like, it's a living constitution where it floats around and it's never stable. It's
That's
just
an
up to.
interesting point that you'll bring up with the fact that it's a living, floating around, never stable type of document that can be somehow changed by either statute or law. When in fact it being the supreme law of the land cannot be changed except by amendment, and that has to be done by a democratic process, that being 2/3 of the states ratifying an amendment. to go ahead and change the United States Constitution. It's something that's not to be done very lightly.
Mm.
And there's a reason for that, and that being that it's supposed to be a framework within which all of our legislation is crafted. And so consequently, that's the reason why it's so stinking important. And consequently, that is the reason why it is so least taught. Because if you do not empower the people with with the knowledge of their founding and with the knowledge of what their rights are, then they do not have a foundation to stand on. Whether or not that foundation exists and is written down somewhere, it's fine, well, and good for it to be moldering in a basement somewhere. But if people do not have that in their hearts and do not fight for that and are willing to make the ultimate in sacrifice for that ideal, not so much the document, not so much the knowledge contained therein, but the ideal, not an idea, but an ideal rather, which is different than an idea. It is a formulation of ideas which people they live by it. It's a creed, and when they have that kind of thing, it's a necessary and important thing to protect that thing with everything that they have. And there are those that will, and that's all there is with regard to that.
I'm to the point where I just figure like God has it in hand, and they say empires only last a certain amount of time before they either are destroyed from within or they stop existing. And I sometimes wonder, like, has America has had its full run in this experiment of capitalism? And we have our full run, and now I guess I've heard that socialism has been tried 25 times, and all 25 times has failed. And there's a certain country that the socialism has worked, but it's like a capitalistic socialism. And some people maybe saying, well, we're going to try that one. But even you have to condition the people as they're doing a good job with these mask wearing. You're going to die. We get to close down the businesses because we're trying to save you from yourself. And now we have this vaccine that says, now we'll save you with this vaccine, which I don't trust doctors as far as I can throw them. Nothing personal, doctors. If you read my book, 6 Shades of Blindness, you'll understand my mistrust for anyone who calls himself a doctor. Yeah, I think doctors are good for fixing bones and broken bones and gunshots, but as anything else, I'm not on the doctor's team. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is I'm getting off I'm sort of like half of me is off the grid, and I'm not like in a ship that's being tossed back and forth. I'm pretty much stable to not to get really upset about what is going on, just knowing that in the end God has it under control.
See, that's the most interesting thing that you might bring up, Johnny, is for the longest time, I don't know if you felt this way or not, but I sure have, where, man, it's tense, it's really tight, and lots of things are stressful, and boy, things get just worse, and it just gets more and more just gets poured on. And you know what? There came a point where I decided to be all in, where I decided to just say, Lord, I don't have this. You've got this, and it's okay. And
Hmm.
speaking of being off the grid, oh man, I spent my time off the grid. I'll have to tell you that story someday. Very
Oh,
fast, living with the wolves and the mountain lions, and literally being on 70 acres of nothing and getting lost in the middle of wintertime. Man, oh man, what a story. Anyway,
wow.
I will tell
So,
you that being close to God is the only thing that we've got left. And when that in and of itself is taken from us, or when that is threatened, um, then and only then will be when we truly have to rise up and just kind of say no more. We need our freedom. We have to have our liberty. We have to have our independence. And that's really all that we, whether we're blind or whether we're sighted or whether we're whatever our able embodiment is, uh, that's all we all want is independence, liberty, and freedom.
hey, you know what I heard about? I heard about like this living together as far as like socialist versus capitalism. That it might come to a point where the red states will say, "Hey, you know, you guys, great, that you want to live like that you want to be controlled like that, but for the people who want to live like the red, come over here, and if you want to stay the blue, stay over there. Taxes are the death, whatever you want to do, just don't bring your blueness over here. Just stay over there, enjoy yourself." And that would be something that I if it came to that, I would say, hey, you know, I was born here in Colorado, but I sort of like the red way of living. Just government out of my life. Um, as long as I'm not hurting you, you're not hurting me, and I obey the laws of the land, I'd rather be over here rather than in this anarchy where words mean what I say they mean. They don't mean what they mean, and you want your boys, children, to take drugs to stunt their growth and become females or whatever, or females become male. You just stay over there and just knock yourself out with
I'll
this.
tell you, about a week ago, I really hit on a subject just similar to this. Uh, there was some article that I was trying to read, and I came across something else entirely. And it said, "Did Trump almost spill the beans about alien, blah, 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 this, that, and the other?" And I'm like, ooh,
Hmm,
got to read that. That's interesting. So
what did you see that? I want to find that one.
I don't even remember where I saw it, but I'll tell you what. I was thinking, all right, check this out. So you got these way far up there aliens with their high technology and all their power and their high mucky muckness, and they look down on us poor little humans, and they say, "Oh, you poor little guys, you're not quite ready yet, but when you guys get ready, you guys can join this big old intergalactic group of happy, cuddly, rainbow eating butterfly and bunny rabbit chasing. Oh boy, it's just a happy galactic whatever here. So when you're ready, you little humans down here, you just let us know and you get ready now." And
Hmm.
and so check this out. So you got one guy, and he's like, "You know what, check this out. We're not quite ready yet, but we're gonna get there. It's gonna get there. It's gonna be fine." But then you got all these mediocre crabs, they're like actual crabs. The crabs do this. You take a bucket of crabs and you put all the crabs together, and one wants to get out. The rest of the crabs will pull that one down. They don't want that one to get out.
Hmm.
Well, it's similar to that. So you got the aliens up here and their high mucky muckness and their super powerful technological blah 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 whatever, and they're like, "Oh, come up here out of the bucket, Mister Crab," and all the other mean crabs, boy, they don't want to have that happen. So I think really that there's a big battle, spiritually or otherwise. In fact, I know there is, and
Hmm.
we have to choose a side, and we choose. Well, we choose God, and
Hmm.
there are others that choose not God, and it's okay, and it's all their stuff, except it affects our friends, it affects our neighbors, and so we fight for them. And we
Yeah.
understand that there's something at stake bigger than us. there's something bigger than money, and there's something bigger than success, and there's just something bigger than what we have here, and it's eternal.
Yeah. And of course, we don't want to go back to the 6 million that of Jews, which I'm sure they thought like, this cannot be happening. Why would people decide that they must destroy us? And I bet a lot of them just didn't take it serious because it said this can, they're thinking rationally, they're thinking with a normal mind. And even when Stalin did what he did and killed a lot of his people, you have to this mindset that this can't be happening. This reality is crazy. And America, we haven't got to that point yet. We have, people snitching on each other if they see their neighbor not wearing a mask or whatever, which I don't wear a mask when I'm outside or whatever. I only wear it to go into businesses. And then once I'm out, I go back to normal and I'm out of that game that they're playing. But I just see it as we haven't got to the point where it's to the death in some ways, but not to the death where these group of people are saying, well, if you don't do what we say, then we're going to put you in a organizing your brain camp.
Re-education camp. Yeah, re-education camp. Yeah,
even though
those
China,
are great.
even though China has it, and they're trying to bring their culture into our culture. we haven't went overboard that way because they have their spies in the colleges and they're already controlling the people. Could you imagine you go to another country and then you got someone shadowing you to make sure you keep the status quo of the country that you came from? That has to be bizarre.
I could imagine it. And I wouldn't like it.
Come to the land of free, and you're not really free because you have your shadow.
The land of the free, as long as you're not, free to say certain things and think certain things. Home of the brave, as long as you're behind your computer keyboard or your what do they call them things? Them newfangled video game controller thingies.
Oh yeah, Xbox.
Yeah.
No, well, Alan, we're gonna close the show out.
All right.
We got some other topics. Like I said, God is in control, and I put the scripture like 1 John chapter 4, 6, 7, 8. Is beloved, love one another, for he who loves is born of God and knows God, and he who hates has never seen God. So I just say pray for these politicians that are lost, because it seems like a lot of them are. Pray for these globalists, and pray for just the evil in men. It's nothing that has to do with racism. It's just evil in men and women. And we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities in high places. And just putting your full armor of God. Ephesians chapter 6, for those of you who have never opened up your Bible and read any of this stuff. So Ephesians chapter 6, it talks about putting on your whole armor of God. So appreciate you coming tonight. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Johnny.
And we'll see you tomorrow. All right.